Hello, it's Debbie, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about how chronic stress impacts the whole you, specifically on digestion, food sensitivities, leaky gut, all sorts of gut dysfunctions. I'm really fascinated to share something with you. If you are stuck getting the results you want, you just can't figure out what is going on. Maybe you're running all the functional lab tests as we suggest as FDN practitioners, but you're still not getting answers. Well, if you're not doing what we call the DRESS protocol in FDN in our systems, we do the labs. While we're waiting for the lab results, we're running the DRESS for health success system. Diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, stress management, and supplement where we don't get enough from our food as magnesium, essential fatty acids, essential aminos. Then we figure out a protocol based on the lab test assessments and dive into a 90-day, but often 6 months to a year-long journey working together. But what's interesting, if you don't figure out how to manage stress, eliminate it, we have these chronic stressors externally we talk about all the time, and these additional sources of chronic stress that can be because of your external stress. We don't know chicken or the egg. But look at what happens with chronic stress, how it alters the microbiome, increases harmful bacteria, lowers beneficial bacteria, weakens digestion, decreases stomach acid, digestive enzyme production from the pancreas, absorption of your nutrients into the gut wall lining. We have increased permeability, which means basically leaky gut, and this allows toxins into the bloodstream. And then we have suppressed immune function from all of the above, reducing the ability to fight infections. But I always ask, how does this happen? Why? Why is there less stomach acid? Why is there less enzyme? Why is there leaky gut? How does it happen? So for me, I'm just a curious person, especially as I get older. I'm always asking, why? Tell me more. Really, what is the mechanism of action? And then what is the order of operations to fix things? What I'm finding to be a common thread, the impact of chronic stress in the gut, that's all one thing that I see related to everything: joint inflammation, aches, depressed immune system, rapid breathing, shortness of breath, decreased nutrient absorption, slower metabolism, diarrhea, IBS, constipation, indigestion, difficulty concentrating, headaches, depression, anxiety, irritability, dizziness, panic, memory loss, increased risk of heart disease, heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, ulcers, heartburn, weight fluctuations, cramps, nausea, fertility issues, reduced libido, increased PMS. This is all related to chronic stress. Now, to me, we have these symptoms, but how does chronic stress create these symptoms? Why do we have these symptoms? Let's work north. As we learn as nutritional therapy practitioners, and FDN practitioners, don't just treat the problem, work backwards and think north, work your way south. So let's start at the most northern point, your brain, your nervous system. We talk about chronic stress, how it activates the HPA axis system, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. This triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline. And I've done other videos on this, so find other videos you might find interesting on this topic on my YouTube channel if you look in the playlist for my solo episodes. Now we have the nervous system. Keep it simple. We hear about it called fight or flight or rest and digest. High stress and chronic stress, more so, not just acute stress, doesn't do it. We get in and out of the fight or flight to rest and digest with acute stress. We get a stressor, we recover, repair, and then come back to parasympathetic. If we have chronic stress, This shifts the body into sympathetic dominance, fight or flight or freeze. If we're over here in that fight or flight, we're turning off or down regulating the functions in the parasympathetic nervous system, specifically talking here about proper digestion, gut health, and immune system. If we are in sympathetic, we're stuck over here in fight or flight, what do you think happens to the activities that we need to be in parasympathetic nervous system? When we have reduced vagus nerve activation, we have an issue. The vagus nerve controls digestion function. If we have chronic stress, this impacts the vagal nerve by reducing what we call the vagal tone and leading to poor gut motility and digestive enzyme secretion. How do we know if we have low or high vagal tone? We measure the vagus nerve via heart rate variability testing, which is not talked about nearly enough. People are doing Oura Ring, Whoop bands, Apple Watches, all these devices measuring heart rate variability from a red light back of a watch or ring. We are getting the data of estimated heart rate variability, the time between each heartbeat. I have many podcasts with Rhonda Collier and Amy of Nuvana Life. We just did one on the vagal nerve stimulation device that they have. If the heart rate variability score is just one number, we don't see the breakdown of the nervous system. If you really want to know your fight or flight sympathetic nervous system in relationship in the balance to your parasympathetic nervous system, we need to test heart rate variability, not by a ring or a wristwatch, but by wearing a heart rate monitor chest strap as a polar heart rate strap right below your chest and measuring your heartbeat and the time between each beat, your resiliency, heart rate variability. I work with Rhonda Collier. She's helped me when I first had my adrenal exhaustion in 2013, and I did a beta study with them 2013 for 1 month, testing every day my heart rate variability. And we'll talk about that more with my podcast with Rhonda and Amy. But it doesn't, if you don't do anything, when you're just testing and getting a number of your heart rate variability in your vagus nerve, you need to do the work to improve it, but you need to know what work you need to do. And if that work that you chose to do, whatever habit you're trying to change, is it actually doing the work? And that's why we just did a Metabolic Harmony 30-day challenge with Amy of Nuvana Life using the vagal nerve stimulator at least 4 nights a week or 4 days a week, and testing your heart rate variability score and LF to HF score with Rhonda's Sweet Beat Life. So I'm obviously totally into this subject, and fascinating how much the role of the vagus nerve is essential to strengthen in order to get the digestive system, the gut health, and your immune system stronger. If we don't start north and work our way south, we need to work with foundations, but rewiring, as we'll talk about here in this chart. Whew, I need to get in parasympathetic now, get all fired up. This is so fascinating to me, and I just struggle to understand how I can help people feel the best that they can be if we don't rewire the parts that connect to their heart. So if you look at the vagus nerve, it is coming out, cranial nerve, vagus nerve connects to heart, your lungs, your stomach, the organ. I would say that because people say the stomach and they're really meaning like they're specifically their belly fat, but they're not talking about the organ, the stomach, and then small intestines and large intestines. But there's the liver, and then your intestines here, and then your bladder. If we are in sympathetic fight or flight, if that's dominating, we need to realize we're accelerating the heart rate. We're dilating the bronchi in the lungs. We're inhibiting digestion. We are stimulating glucose release and cortisol to respond to that threat. We're being chased. We're being attacked. We stimulate epinephrine and norepinephrine release. in the kidneys, or I think in the adrenals, technically. The adrenals sit under the renals. As intestines inhibits peristalsis and secretion, as we'll talk about, and then the bladder is relaxed versus parasympathetic. It is really important to know that one or the other is not bad. We need obviously both. As I always say, we need cortisol, we need insulin, we need glucose. They're not bad. Ketones are great, but too much is not great either. So it's a Goldilocks effect for everything, the right amount. My picture is covering it, but homeostasis is a dynamic balance between the two nervous system autonomic branches. So just to go over again, the vagus nerve and the role between digestion, gut health, immunity. Let's dive in a little deeper. Chronic stress, not acute stress, chronic stress suppresses the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve connects the brain to the digestive and immune systems, as we just saw in the picture. This regulates digestion, gut motility, and inflammation. If we have chronic stress, this is reducing vagal tone. So you can tell the next step will be impaired digestion, a weakening of the immune system. A low vagal tone reduces our stomach acid, enzyme secretion, gut motility, leading to bloating or constipation, maybe both. Dysbiosis is the overgrowth of bad bacteria and an imbalance in the bacteria levels. Disrupted vagal signaling increases leaky gut and contributes to food sensitivities, because now our border, I think the borderline is broken, just as our, if you want to go, not to go into politics, but the border of Mexico to US, if people could escape through until we seal that border, those people that got through, think of those as foods. And now foods on the other side of that borderline are now tagged as enemies. They're foreigners. They're not supposed to be out. They're supposed to be behind that borderline. So we get these random healthy foods for some people, but they can be very reactive in our body. So that's why I was curious when people say, I eat healthy. What does that mean? That healthy food can be putting gasoline on your fire and causing more chronic inflammation. So we need to test and not guess. Next, how do we get an immune system out of whack? The vagus nerve controls the anti-inflammatory pathways. Low vagal tone, low heart rate variability can lead to chronic inflammation, autoimmunity, and increased infection risk. So powerful. If we don't treat the foundation and rewire our gut-brain connection with this vagal nerve being stronger, are we really doing our health justice of taking a supplement panel or a protocol, doing a leaky gut protocol, if we are still having problems with the poor vagal nerve, if we still have chronic stress that we're not dealing with externally? We can work on, of course, identifying the hidden sources of chronic stress with functional lab testing. As a parasite, as I had blastohominus, I had high levels of H. pylori, I had candida, I had mold, toxin, illness, I had it all, metabolic chaos. And it's possibly it started from living life as a race. The chicken or the egg again. It's external stressors combined now with even more internal sources of chronic stress, because I had so much chronic stress. But now I just overfilled that beaker of stress even more by adding in this whole domino effect of internal sources of chronic stress. So unless I strengthen this vagus nerve first, I'm curious if we really reach our full potential in healing and repairing if we don't address this first. So how can you support your vagus nerve? Well, nice little infographic here. When I use the vagal nerve stimulator from Nirvana, it's a little device, and I turn it on, connect it to the app, and I put an earplug or a headphone set into the left ear. And so I put that in, and it stimulates this vagus nerve, and listen to Amy explains it much better than I can. But just look how it's connected to all these organs. So if our vagus nerve is not working, we cannot connect and fire up these processes. So we can do deep breathing, meditation, cold exposure, improves vagal tone and resiliency, gargling, humming, singing, and of course, eating in a relaxed state, taking the 3 breaths I say to clients before you start eating. Just take a moment, pause, reset, reboot. As you do your computer, when it's not working, we push that Control Alternate Delete button. Try it. Even now, take a breath. Slow down, as I need to when I'm doing this seminar. Okay, as we go from the brain, there's actually one more step before we get to stomach. The gut-brain connection or brain-gut connection, chronic stress disrupts digestion from the start, as the digestion not just starts in the brain, but also the sight, smell, and thought of food does also trigger the digestive processes in your mouth. So if we are in fight or flight, again, the vagus nerve, we reduce the signals that stimulate saliva production in our mouth, and then the stomach acid in the stomach, the organ, and enzyme release from the pancreas. This slows digestion even before the food reaches the stomach. So in the mouth, we start to impair the whole digestive process if we are eating in fight or flight. How many people do you know, maybe yourself, family members, friends, coworkers, that you eat a meal with and they're inhaling their food? I don't care how healthy your food is. If you're not properly eating, having good manners, chewing your food, putting the fork down, eating slowly, you are eating in fight or flight and you're not digesting your food. So as I say, and other practitioners say, you are not just what you eat, but also what you can break down and absorb. And if you are eating in a rushing mode, you are stopping the digestive processes even before you chew and digest that food or move it down your esophagus to your stomach. We have decreased salivary enzyme. Stress, chronic stress, add that word chronic, reduces amylase, which is reduced in your mouth and the saliva for carbohydrate digestion, and lipase is in your mouth for fats, making food even harder to break down. So again, poor chewing and eating quickly. Chronic stress leads to rush meals, meaning food isn't properly broken down before reaching the stomach, causing digestive strain. So as nutritional therapy practitioners, this is our logo on the right side. We start with a nutrient-dense, properly paired whole foods diet. We work on hydration, digestion, blood sugar regulation, dietary fats, and minerals, but we need to even start with that vagus nerve. So take a breath, activate the vagus nerve, parasympathetic nervous system before you start eating or thinking about eating. Chew your food to stimulate saliva and your digest enzymes. Eat in a relaxed state. Avoid screens. Sit down. Be present. Be mindful. Perhaps boarding digestion, have a cup of good grass-fed bone broth before you eat. Apple cider vinegar and sparkling water with some bitters is what I've been doing. Digest enzymes, being mindful. So good infographic just to review the vagus nerve over here. Humans spend too much time with technology. I didn't write this. I found this online, but it's perfect, right? This in turn creates a dopamine high that is addictive and consequently decreases our perception of what the body needs to function. The vagus nerve and healing, the vagus nerve carries 80% of the information to the brain from the body. So if the vagus nerve is weak or poor vagal tone, then our brain cannot know what to do or how to heal. The gut microbiome. The vagus nerve needs a special fuel to operate and maintain its stress management. This fuel is a combination of acetylcholine and short chain fatty acids from healing the gut microbiome. We talk about butyrate, short chain fatty acid butyrate, helping that gut wall lining. Serotonin. Inward attention increases serotonin, which helps the body with digestion, healing, managing pain, relaxing, and sleeping. The whole orchestra of each mechanism, the brain, nervous system, immune system, sleep, rest, digestion, and repair, is tied intimately with natural circadian rhythm only by the sun. Thus, watching the sunrise and sunset is essential, is what I try to do every day in my new life, living here in this outdoor environment with my glass house and our house being in pretty good weather year round. And on top of a hill, I can see the sunrise and the sunset. And I'm grateful for that. The strongest, fastest way to stimulate the vagus nerve is via electrical device. And that's what Amy in our podcast, you can learn more about the vagal nerve stimulation and ask me for a discount code from Nuvana Life before you buy one. Get a discount code for anything that's on our podcast. Now, how stress impacts your digestive system. You may have nausea, diarrhea, constipation, and you don't know why. You think it's just the food you eat. Well, maybe it's how you're eating or being in that chronic stress state, eating in sympathetic. Weakened immune system, inflammation, the lower stomach acid, nutrient absorption. So this is all connected, right? So we have the next phase. We talked about the brain, this mouth, and now we're moving into the stomach organ. And stomach acid is impacted if we are in a chronic stress state. Low stomach acid impairs protein digestion, and you might have a result of that. Bloating, indigestion, nutrient absorption is impacted as not getting enough B12, iron, and zinc. If you have slow motility, you have problems emptying out, maybe you have gut dysbiosis, all these different things listed here can be part of leaky gut. Part of chronic stress. So deep breathing, mindful eating, gut supportive nutrients, and strengthening that vagus nerve, again, are really essential to reducing the impact on the gut that you're creating additional sources of chronic stress. So when the body is under chronic stress, it shifts to fight or flight, prioritizing survival over digestion. This has direct impact on your stomach acid production, leading to lower stomach acid. And again, I'm just summarizing, but low stomach acid can be bloating, acid reflux, indigestion, bacterial overgrowth, SIBO due to undigested food fermenting in the gut. So we can treat SIBO, but what if we're not understanding why do I have SIBO in the first place? Is it because I have undigested food fermenting in the gut because I'm not digesting it properly? So we always ask why. Why do I have undigested food fermenting in my gut? Why is that happening? Why do I have bacterial overgrowth? Well, work backwards. If I don't have enough stomach acid and digest enzymes, this is a result of that. Why do I have not enough stomach acid and digestive enzymes? Work backwards. So that's kind of what I do as a health investigator is go, all right, that's happening, but why? That's happening. So we go deeper and deeper and deeper. And again, this is why I'm coming to the correlation of the connection of the vagus nerve involved here. So chronic stress slows stomach emptying. This is leading to, of course, your stomach, your food you just ate, it's not moving south. And I've had this happen a lot of times. It's just sitting there. It's not breaking down. So you might feel discomfort. You might feel like you're going to throw up. I used to always have to feel sick because the food wouldn't move down. And so you're getting that food is just sitting there. Think of your garbage disposal of food you throw down the garbage disposal and you don't turn it on. So it's just sitting there and fermenting. So then finally, if it starts to move down, then it's kind of all rotted food. When you have this happening, you can have gut inflammation and an imbalance in your gut bacteria. So looking at conditions is IBS, leaky gut, increased infections of H. pylori, which is in your stomach, the organ. That can be part of a reason of the why. Work backwards to understand that chronic stress triggers release of cortisol, Excess cortisol can weaken the gut wall lining. Think of that borderline of Mexico to US. If the border isn't strong, people are just going to charge through it. And those little cracks in the fence are going to break through the borderline, increasing a leak in the borderline, leaky gut. And then this leads to inflammation in the rest of the body as joint pain, arthritis, all these autoimmune issues. And then we talked about these food sensitivities that are great foods, eat all the time, they're good for me. But now suddenly they make me feel sick. And then we move down into the small intestine. Now we're seeing the impact of impaired digestive enzymes from the pancreas, which is the upper part of the small intestine. We get pancreas is releasing digest enzymes. We've got the bile release from the gallbladder. And this chronic stress is lowering that pancreas enzyme secretion. So we don't get the protease and amylase. We're reducing the fat, protein, and carb digestion now. Bile flow is reduced and impairing fat digestion. So then we're having increased risk for bloating and gallbladder issues. So do you have a gallbladder issue because you're not eating fat, or is it because you have chronic stress and you have sympathetic dominance and poor vagal nerve, and so your vagus nerve is not connecting, you're turning on the gallbladder function in your liver and your small intestine and your pancreas because you're eating in fight or flight. Think about it. So chronic stress increases cortisol. This weakens the tight junctions in the gut lining. So remember that border crossing now has holes in it. This allows undigested food, particles, toxins, foreigners basically to enter to the other side into the bloodstream, triggering inflammation and immune dysfunction. So we talk about the health of the microbiome. If we now have this disruption in our gut balance because the chronic stress disrupts the microbiome, this leads to imbalance in the good and the bad bacteria. This imbalance now weakens the gut lining because we have too many bad guys outnumbering the good guys. So now we have more damage to the gut wall lining. So that border is more vulnerable. And so foreigners can break down through that border wall, and they're going to break through the other side. They're triggering inflammation in that gut wall lining. Now we're having digestive issues and just systemic health problems with the leaky gut, causing this domino effect in the rest of the body. And you don't ever know really that external stuff going on in the rest of the body all actually started in the gut because of your vagus nerve or your disconnection or being in fight or flight and poor vagal tone. Microbiome metabolism, the gut converts dietary compounds to metabolites that influence overall health. And then chronic stress disrupts metabolite production, impacting the gut brain and the gut immune signaling, leading to widespread health effects. Then we move from the small intestine. Now we're down into the large intestine. Chronic stress disrupts the gut microbiome. This reduces the beneficial bacteria in the large intestine, allowing for overgrowth of harmful bacteria, dysbiosis, yeast as candida, yeast overgrowth, parasites, opportunistic bacteria. Once you get one bad guy in, then he brings all of his friends in. And this leads to conditions as small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, which you can learn about from Dr. William Davis. He's been on the podcast 3 times and explains SIBO as microbes in large intestine somehow make their way all the way up to the top of the small intestine and be in the area that they're not supposed to be and create this overgrowth. Candida, we have a little bit of it, but if we have more chronic stress, we're having candida overgrowth. Chronic stress disrupts the gut microbiome. So increased motility, more frequent bowel movements is diarrhea, urgency to go, or decreased motility, you have slow digestion, constipation, bloating. So when you have chronic stress, that can be altered one way or the other, constipation or diarrhea or both. And then we talked about short chain fatty acids as butyrate. Good bacteria produce short chain fatty acids. So there's certain bacteria, the good bacteria that produce butyrate, and that helps nourish the gut wall lining we're learning more about. Chronic stress induced microbiome shifts reduces our short chain fatty acid levels, weakening the gut health and immune function. Now, you can take all these supplements to fix this, but my point is, and I've learned this only from working with clients, we can't fix a problem if you have constant stress. It's just kind of putting the fire a little bit out, but it's still burning. So if we don't address with your anxiety, your depression, your lifestyle is stressing you out, you've got bad family situation or something, loss, trauma, we need to work on it, deal with it, work with those emotions. So the result of chronic stress in your digestion can be correlated with, as we said, nutrient deficiencies. Iron levels could be low, B12, magnesium, zinc, amino acids. Think about this organ, the stomach, if we don't have enough stomach acid or if we have H. pylori. Chronic inflammation can be a result of chronic stress, leading to IBS, IBD, food sensitivities. Increased risk of parasites, pathogens due to the weakened gut barrier. Our defense system, our Army, Navy SEALs, Marines are not around. They're not protecting the border. The weakened immune system. The gut houses 70% of the immune cells. So again, good infographic to check out that I found on Google. I don't know who this is from, but should have their website on there somewhere. A healthy gut, diverse microbes. We can fight off infections, host antibiotics. But if you've got this good balance of the good bacteria, we have the mucosa layer here, and then the villi, and you got the cells, and then we have our immune cells over here. Now, if you have irritable bowel, for example, you have reduced diversity, you have high and low bacteria, you have higher E. coli, and these different bacteria can be out of balance. And then our gut wall lining, that border line, you can see this healthy border here. You've got your short chain fatty acids, and you're able to protect the body, the outside world from getting these foreigners outside. But now you've an impaired barrier, bad guys get through, and they get through the other side. So the border is broken down, more foreigners are crossing the borderline. All right, so let's wrap this up. Chronic stress in the immune system, it is all connected. So just coming down how, again, the brain and the nervous system connects all this together. Hormones, inflammation, the gut wall lining, the immune system, systemic inflammation, immune dysfunction. It's a vicious cycle. So chronic stress, cortisol dysregulation, increased inflammation. We get gut dysbiosis. We have a leak in our gut. We have weakened defense system. A weakened immune system leads to increased infections, autoimmunity, co-infections, ongoing inflammation, and then you continue to have more stress. It just adds up. So you get that internal sources of chronic stress overfilling your beaker of stress. So how can you strengthen the nervous system, the gut, digestive system? Again, we're coming back to supporting the brain and the nervous system first. Deep breathing, meditation, cold exposure, adaptogens. I'm taking Shilajit and ashwagandha supplement right now at the company from Root Labs. You can ask me about morning sunlight. I'm going to watch the sunset soon. Prioritizing sleep routine, quality of sleep, healing the gut. Again, this helps, but it doesn't fix everything. You still need to do the lifestyle habits and the stress management and the sleep. You cannot out supplement and out exercise core nutrition habits, but you can't out supplement these fix the problems. So I don't think at the end of the day, can't out supplement poor lifestyle habits. So we need to do the work. This doesn't come in a pill. That's the problem. You can do the vagus nerve stimulator. You don't have to do a thing. You just put it in your ear. So it's kind of a pill. It's very simple. But going for nature walks, breath work, proper recovery, this all takes work. And we need to identify these sources of internal stress that are going to accumulate if you don't stop, pause, reset, and recalibrate. Trust me, this is what happened to me. So take the holistic approach, as chronic stress will impact your gut, immune system, hormones, longevity. So we can look at pillars of resiliency, build that up. Take note if you're in sympathetic dominance or you're parasympathetic. You don't want to be over here either. So we want to take action, figure out where we need to start. Functional lab testing, optimize sleep, mindfulness, the vagus nerve stimulation, just managing stress from the brain to gut to prevent chronic stress from wrecking your digestion and health and longevity. So deep breathing, vagal nerve stimulation, humming, cold exposure meditation, we've said many times, avoiding rush meals, chewing your food, proper nutrient breakdown and absorption. Hormone, nervous system regulation, talking about gut health and digestion optimization, sleep rituals we talked about, metabolic mitochondria health, fuel your cells. This is what I do with metabolism testing. Mindset, emotional resiliency, gratitude journaling, EFT, yoga nidra, help with chronic stress, social connection, getting rid of or eliminating or cutting down time with people that just are vampires. They take all the energy out of you. And then stress resilience, food, strengthen your body, avoid overtraining, prioritize recovery, train smarter, not harder. Just know that chronic stress impacts the whole you. Look at all this. So listen to your body's signals, build consistency in your habits, focus on small daily improvements, pick one thing to work on, and figure out where to start. So head to website, debbiepotts.net, which we're just updating. So should be working. Take one or two things that you can work on, but if you want to know more, I do free discovery calls, 20-minute calls to figure out which coaching package would be best for you. I have assessment, I have a 6-month health detective, or I have a comprehensive VIP 6-month program. Usually we end up going a year. I must tell you, 6 months goes really fast. So if you want to learn more, my book is on Amazon and Coach Debbie Potts on social media. Let me know what questions you have, as I am here to help you live your best life and improve how you age. Thanks for listening, and share this with someone else that might be struggling with chronic stress and feel that they're doing all the right things, but they're just not getting the desired results. So thanks for liking and hitting subscribe.